Is it raining where you are?
Yep, very heavy.
Hope. I don't know if the mics are good to pick up the rain. Like I hope it is.
When I signed in,
I
I
don't
heard
look
the
that
thunder at your
ridiculous. Do
side.
I? Do I look that ridiculous?
Do I look ridiculous? What are rude? What is it?
You know what I found funny?
30 seconds.
I found funny that when we had on Marty, he was like, "What's up with that?" And I'm like, "It's because of you that there's this whole thing." Because he made me afraid of showing my like. I never, when we started this podcast, which is really your pushing, you, you
My
peer
fault.
pressuring, you peer pressuring me. Um, because honestly, if things need to happen in my life sometimes very fast, right? Or like I think that I will change my mind. So like things just happen very quickly, So like things that I don't want to deal with, I just like whatever. I had another friend that works with audio and sound and wondered why I had this since this already had a mic a foam, and he said he wondered if it was to obscure my face. And I said, yes, because freaking Marty. I would never have, first, I don't think that I would have done the podcast. And when you and Anuj kind of egged me on to doing it like quickly, I don't think that, I think that if I had time to think about it, I wouldn't have done it. I think I would have just been too chicken and not done it. But, um, and then I never considered video. You know what? I don't hear sound I've lost sound somewhere.
From me or from you?
No, I lost sound. It was going through. Oh,
Exactly,
no, there
because
it's
I
sound.
can hear me as well.
Well, that was me. I'm not the audio engineer. That would be you. And now you got your mic is the correct mic this week.
I believe so. I thought it was last week too.
It couldn't have been because
That's
you've
all
had
I'm going to
better.
say.
No, no. I would say that the only reason why I would say that I don't think it was because your mic is usually very good. And last week it sounded, and I don't do like AI edits because it seems like when it's really great. The one thing about Riverside is that from the year ago when we started this to now, the advancement that they use AI into to helping somebody if you want to make a podcast is like fantastic. And I will shout out Riverside in this regard too, is that they're so helpful. Like I've done some crazy things because I don't know anything about editing. I don't know if you remember like in the beginning how like every time I made an edit, I cut the audio instead of just muting stuff. Like so they were like, I was like, I'm having a hard time like loading up this audio. They looked at it, there was like, it was cut into like 200 cuts, and they're like, why are there so many cuts? I'm like, I was taking out he's like, why didn't you use mute? I'm like, I didn't know you could do that. He's like, well, we have a training video. I'm like, yeah, I'm not a training video watching person.
Yeah,
I'm exactly like my dad. And my dad was like, he was just got like he was like a wing it, no instructions kind of a guy. And
yeah,
that's me.
just a bit like your son as well.
Yeah, right. It doesn't always work. Hey, I wanted to talk to you though, because I wanted to hear your thoughts. Because this is quite modern. You've heard that there is a new pope,
Yes,
and you heard he is from Chicago. He's American.
yes.
That's not the commentary that I want to make. I don't really care. I'm not a religious person. Um, I I'll just leave it at that. I'm not a religious person. I do believe in philosophies of certain things. Like I believe in Buddhist philosophies because I find it's more of a philosophy than like a religion, in my opinion. However, Pope Francis, I was a fan of Pope Francis as a human being, right? And I have a really cool story. Did I tell you that I have Pope biscuits?
No, I don't even know what do you mean by Pope biscuits?
So, a couple of years ago, an old family friend who's like, he's kind of like an equivalent to like an abbot, the head abbot of Wat Po, which is the Temple of the Reclining Buddha. So he's like, you know, well respected member of the, I don't know, that Buddhist whatever, right? The monkdom, high up in the monkdom. But there was like some kind of a religious tour that was going around, and it had, you know what we call him? Like in our family, we call him Uncle Monk Dude. That's like his name. That's always his name, Uncle Monk Dude. Because like, I think he's known my mom and her brothers since they were young, and he's been a monk his whole life. And so he was invited on this like religious tour that took, I believe the Dalai Lama was on it and Pope Francis was on it. And Pope Francis loves animals. I love animals. So first of all, that scores some points. But I've also read stuff on him. I liked him. I liked him a lot. So I was quite sad to hear that he passed. I was actually quite sad to hear that he passed. The new pope, though, what I wanted to make comment on was he has a degree in mathematics. Okay, I can't do it. I can't do it.
Okay.
Do it that thing.
So you need a reaction.
Well, I'm not doing that, right?
Well, he must be quite intelligent then if he has a degree in mathematics, right?
Okay, I do have another question I would like to ask you. Why is the shortened version of mathematics in the UK? Why is it maths?
Because it's plural. It's not mathematic, it's mathematics, so it's maths.
What do you call a plural of fish?
It depends. I know stuff. Are they the same type of fish?
Oh, that's the correct answer. But I just wondered, like, what do you think, though, that people that don't know nerdery things like we do, what do you think British people call plurals of fish?
I think,
or do you think they all know?
Yeah, maybe they all know. No, they're definitely. Maybe they know. I'm sure they all know.
You know what? And that's nothing against British people. I don't think that there's a lot of super nerdy people, and so that read dictionaries and stuff.
For it's sheep as well, right?
Is it
sheep? Yeah, because you can have different breeds of sheep. I'm not sure about.
Does it annoy people does it annoy you as a maths person to hear people just call it math?
It grates a little.
But here's the thing, though.
I've mellowed, so I let it go.
Okay, but you say it's plural, right?
Mm-hmm.
But are we talking a plural of problems or plural of ideas or plural of formulas? Like when you're talking the word mathematics, like what do you think that encompasses?
All the concept. Maths is a language. It has many facets, many subtopics. So it's all those subtopics grouped together to make them maths. Maybe if you say, "Oh, I'm going to do some math today," you could say, "Oh yeah, which one?"
If somebody were to say, "I'm going to do some math today" to you, would you think that they're doing one problem?
Yeah, they're just doing addition.
I'm going to do some math today. It's just, you're going to add.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not knocking it. I love linguistics. I love languages. I love studying languages, but I often like to understand like why things are as they are. Like, why does pneumonia have? Why do you have to?
Yeah, I can hear that one. That's a big one.
I hope that got picked up on the mic. I don't know. Like, this is a pretty good mic.
Well, it did because I heard.
I think it's called Moano. Moano.
Isn't that the movie?
Feel free
to.
That's Moana. But Moano, feel free to send me better mics if you think this one, or even obviously Desmond could use a better mic after last. No, I like your mic. Like I said, I've seen this mic before and I liked it, and I thought about getting it simply for the fact that it looks like the thing that Luke has to battle in
thinking
practice.
Now I need
a
lightsaber.
My God, there's like 7, 8 over here. There's like so many here. Stevie,
I think I've asked you
Stevie
before, right? What color you'd have, and you said purple. Is that right?
Yeah. Mace Windu's. Here we go with the whole sayonara cupcake. I'm into this. I like the aesthetics of the late 70s California, which was a lot of, it wasn't fluorescent. That was the 80s, but it still had these kind of I don't know. That was my early childhood, and it's just the stuff that I remembered, and I loved it. I remembered that there used to be these like shorts that everybody had. I think they were made by Dove, and like one side they were like kind of satiny, and like one side would be a white leg, and the other would be like a red, and then it would reverse, and just that whole aesthetic. And everyone had roller skates, and I had roller skates, and I had these really cool roller skates that looked like sneakers, but you call them trainers.
Yes.
So, okay, I do need to address a couple of things. It's not like I getting back to the language stuff. How did pudding come about to mean everything but pudding?
Well, it does mean pudding. What do you think pudding is?
Well, when I was in the UK, I thought pudding was like Jello pudding, like vanilla pudding, and it was not that at all.
And what is it? What do you think it is now?
Not Jello pudding. I don't know what it is.
Well, it would be.
I have food. You know what? You and I should not be talking about food. I'll just put that disclaimer out there. We are two people that have no business whatsoever talking about food. We are totally, absolutely, we are like subpar underqualified. Like I mean, there's people that are underqualified. Like we are under the underqualified people. You and I have no business whatsoever talking about food.
Well, I can give you my definition of pudding, my understanding of pudding. There's the main form is it means dessert. So it's what we're having for pudding. What's for dessert? And that's for the rougher, so probably from, I'd say, like Birmingham upwards. Just like in the north, we call it dinner and tea instead of lunch and dinner. So we have our dinner at lunchtime, we have our tea at dinner time. And dessert isn't called dessert, it's called pudding. So that covers all the varieties of desserts. And
what is in Yorkshire?
Yeah, I'm just getting around to that. There are 3 exceptions that I can think of. There's white pudding and black pudding, which are the blood pudding. And there's Yorkshire pudding, which is a main course, which is like a battered pudding. It's a battered product.
What do you mean a battered product? Like a battered animal, a battered powder, sugar, flour?
No, like one of the battered fishes. When you batter a fish, it doesn't mean you hit it with a.
Okay.
No, which is deep frying it basically.
Okay. I thought you're like batter it, like battering it like a seal, which is horrible. I used to go to Canada.
Tenderizing. Yeah. So that's my understanding of pudding, and that's where pudding's name came from, Yorkshire pudding, because he was a Yorkshire Terrier.
So Yorkshire pudding is fish?
No, it's a Sunday roast, which has the meat, the potatoes, the vegetables, and then there's this weird battered kind of pastry doughy thing at the side that people put gravy in.
I have no idea. I've never seen that before in my life. I never had like a traditional so it's that thing.
Yeah,
deep fried. It's deep fried something.
Well, it's baked, but it's kind of doughy, and it turns out very. Well, it depends how good the cook is, but it's very crisp.
What is in the contents of it?
I'm not honestly sure. It's definitely eggs and flour and water and salt and probably yeast and stuff.
But no meats or anything. No protein.
No, but they can be added to it because it's shaped like a little dish. So there's a restaurant in York that you can go to, which is just Yorkshire puddings with different fillings.
You know what would be kind of like crazy? What if somebody made like a Yorkshire pudding filling and put like actual pudding in it?
But that's mixing 2 courses. That's main course and pudding.
It's like the same thing with like the shepherd's pie. Like I would think like a shepherd's pie to me, if somebody said, "Oh, do you want shepherd's pie?" I would think it's probably apples because shepherd, like my thinking is like shepherds take naps under apple trees. So it's like a pie, not that at all. So
If you had a question, name something you associate with a shepherd, your answer would be apples. Is that what you mean?
no, I would say sheep, but
Yeah. Well, that's what it is. It's a
but like
sheep
when somebody
pie.
says a pie,
Lamb.
no, but like, because I would never think you would put a sheep in a pie. Like when I think like of a pie, I think of somebody. My first thought is somebody bringing a pie to somebody, like, oh, here, neighbor, or here, because I was thinking of you, or here, your birthday. Like, I think when I hear the word pie, I think of people bringing like a happy pie that would be filled with something happy, like
Well,
apples.
well, meat is happy. Oh, there's so many. When I was in New Zealand recently, there's so many different pies.
And you're talking meat pies.
Meat
We're not.
so sweet and savoury, not together. But there's meat and potato, steak pie, minced pie, mushroom pie, any sort of pie. Anything you can put in a pie, you stick it in there. But the shepherd's pie isn't a pie because there's no pie crust.
Yeah.
It's just so it's a layer of meat, and then you've got your vegetables and your potato on top. But in a shepherd's pie, the meat is lamb.
Have you ever tried haggis?
Yes,
I was going to say you have the Scottish blood in you.
I do.
I should point out that you, like my son, both have. It's a joke, but still, you guys have a square foot of land in Scotland. No, but I have to tell the story because it's so funny. I bought as a joke. I saw it come up like on something, and I researched it, and I found it's pretty much of a joke, right? It's not like totally serious. But still, you got this certificate, and I thought for whatever, $15, it was totally worth it to have this certificate. And it's, I don't know, like, I don't know if you can enforce it or not, right? Like, I don't know, like how whatever it is, but just to have the certificate was cool because I wanted to troll my son, and I wanted to be able to put like on everything, like Lord in front of it. Just like I would change it. I was going to change it like on his school forms and everything. And so I made it for him, and I thought it was like super funny. And then I sent it to you so that, because you were his teacher at the time. And
so that I could print it out and control, and I could up the trolling. I printed it out and stuck it on the wall for everyone to see.
And then you further upped it.
Well, he insisted that I start calling him Lord, and I thought there must be a get out clause.
So you then got yourself a lorddom.
Yes.
Which then made my son come back to me one day. He came and he goes, how do I get knighted and become a sir? I need to be a sir. I'm like, why? Why do you need to be a sir? And he goes, because Mr. D, he's like a lord now too. And like, I want to be like one above him. So how do I become a sir? I'm like, you know what? I'm like, geez, like you could try writing King Charles. I'm like, just write to Buckingham. You never know. Maybe he'll get him. Maybe he'll think it's funny. Like maybe he'll knight you just for the funny, like a temporary day knight. You could be a day knight.
Yeah. Or a night.
A night. God, we are nerds. Do you have the list of like so many things I want to talk to you about?
I do, but not on hand because my schedule's mental.
It is mental. It's
until the end of this
crazy
week.
Mental.
Yeah.
You're tutoring a lot of kids. And this is actually a really interesting thing to talk about. You're tutoring a lot of kids because they are getting ready for
exams.
End of term.
No, these are, but it's not just, because I know in the US they just have internal exams. Oh no, AP is moderated, right? Or accredited, whatever the word. So I think everyone who does AP does the same AP exam. I might be wrong.
Possibly. But the AP is just advanced placement.
Yeah, but you can take an exam at the end of grade 12.
To do what?
The exams that the kids are doing, they're the IB and IGCSE exams. So they're not set by the school, they're set by the exam board.
So is it kind of like the SATs then?
Yeah. If the SAT is the same for everyone. So it's the same exam for the people in Singapore and Hong Kong and China as it is in Thailand.
So in the States, like when we went to high school, we just go to high school, and then we at the end of high school we have, end of year exams, just like any normal classes. And then we just get our transcripts, what was our GPA and everything, overall. And then we take the SAT. And I I'll admit, like I was an average I was an average C student in high school because I just, like, and we've talked about it before. It's probably because just a lot of undiagnosed things, right? And in terms of the way that I learned and whatever. Um, no, but you have to think about our generation. Like I was telling somebody, stop. Like I get what you're laughing at now. Um, you're laughing at me. Um, because I know that you know me. I've got issues. So, but our generation, honestly, like I've told people, I said, when there was a kid that was acting out in class that was maybe super, super hyper, which we know today, we can recognize, okay, maybe they have ADHD or something, right? We, our teacher just cracked open a can of Coke and gave him a can of Coke. That's what they did. I told somebody that and they said, why would they do that? I'm like, because they thought back then the caffeine would calm them. And a lot of times it did. But that's what they did. Like the kid that acted out, he got a Coke. It was just like, hey, why is he get a Coke? Like,
Yeah.
that didn't seem fair. There was a lot of there wasn't the diagnosis that there is now. I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't know if that's a bad thing.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that because that's quite a controversial question. Now, is it better to be undiagnosed and go through school? Because this is purely in the school life that we're talking about. Do you think kids were better prepared in our day for the outside world? Are they wrapped up in too much cotton wool now? Or is it better for them? Do they get a better education?
Well, here's the thing. Both of us have worked for a school that puts a lot of money into training and stuff for a lot of things. And as we learned, uh, because there's so much intensive training on how to recognize things so that we can help children, a lot of us started turning to ourselves going, I remember I remember going to, our person at our school that was the head of SEN and special education needs, and saying, "Oh, I really enjoyed this lecture. I learned a bunch of things, and I learned that maybe I'm undiagnosed a lot of things." And I remember the look on their eye of like it wasn't a surprise that I told them this. It was kind of like she's figured it out. And I remember seeing that going, "Oh my God, I've got issues," like that were undiagnosed. And um but then I started to look back and think and understand, oh, maybe that's why I had difficulties in this or that. Would that have changed anything had I known? How could we know? Like, I don't know. I do think that I think just it's hard to say also what you're asking. Are they better? Were they better prepared back then? Because as a generation, the whole generation was better prepared, like all across the board. Um, so it's hard to say would that particularly be
True.
better.
Too many variables.
Too many variables. But like I just think that generational wise, that much better trained, or much better, more prepared. Like I mean, how old were you when you got your house key and came home? Had to let yourself in yourself.
Yeah. 12, 13.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
and my child is 14, almost 15. I can't imagine giving him a house key without him losing it within
Yeah.
like the first 15 minutes.
Or selling
Right?
it to someone. Yeah.
Right. It's just so, but I mean, he's good at other things, right? But just like, but when I'm saying like he did get home, without GPS or anything from during the earthquake. He found his way home like a homing pigeon.
Yeah.
Um, so there's there are things that are definitely, you know, he's much more, I'm much more lenient. Not I don't Lenient's not the right word. I let him do things more than I got to do at his age. However, I had more, like at his age, I wasn't allowed to go and hang out at my friend's house. But let me tell you, at 7, 8, 9, 10, like from 7 to 12, I could go wherever I want on a base. I could call a taxi. I could do it. Like I had complete open autonomy to do whatever I want because they thought that I was confined on a base. Everybody knew who my dad was. So they thought that there's some kind of safety in that. And so to have that and then come to America where my mom was like, now I was getting into back to America, preteen. She's an Asian mom. And she's
She,
absolutely
let me just
convinced,
add, she definitely is.
right? Crazy Asian mom. And immediately, like once he got into the teen years, was like convinced that any boy that like she told me crazy. Like she would tell me stuff like if you if you start, you know, doing stuff with a boy, I'm going to know because your hips are going to grow wide. And I was like, oh my God, what if my hips start growing wide and I'm not doing anything with boys? Like I became really like conscious and just crazy stuff.
Traumatized.
Totally traumatized, right? Totally traumatized. I've told you some stories that I can't even repeat on here that probably traumatized other people to this day because I'm sure that person was traumatized to this day. And then on the other hand, like any boy that came over or hung out around the garage or or even in the vicinity of the cul-de-sac where I lived in. Here's dad and he's got like a bola knife from the jungle that some Negrito carved and gave to him and he's like, look at how many ways you could kill a person with a knife, and it was just like those guys never came back, right? Never. It was just like I didn't get asked to prom at all. Not at all. Like, oh wow.
So
Crazy. Yeah. So
how is
she's
the old girl doing?
she's quite ill. And you know how old people are when they're ill. It's like I've been summoned next door so many times for this or that. I mean, I'm checking on her, but I get summoned and then as soon as I get there, I am scolded into remaining in the room for more than 30 seconds because I am breathing in stuff. So now I make this dramatic thing of coming in completely covered, like I'm going to attend to a beehive. And then she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Trying not to breathe in the air." I wonder, I always sit there and I'm like, I wonder why Angus is this way. And I just realized why my son is the way he
I've known
is.
for a while. It's
Do you remember the sticker? This is funny. You gave a sticker to my son, and I have it somewhere. I'm going to pull it out, but it was such a weirdly accurate sticker that you gave him. And it was before we were even friends. And I was shocked and I was shook and I kept the sticker because it was very shocking. And I would only I think maybe meet you like, 2 years later after that.
Yeah.
And even
In real life, there was the
meet in real life.
infamous
Because
online meeting.
well, yeah, because I had my first meeting with you was a parent teacher meeting. It was during COVID because my son started middle school at a new school and started during COVID, which is kind of crazy to start a new school online. Um, and so the first parent teacher conference I had was with you and it was online and I was so scared to talk to you beforehand because there's like things in life that I'm super um I have like a lot of respect for, right? Of the sciences and things like that.
Plural, right?
Maths, sciences. Well, in that case, there's a lot of different types of science. You're right. There are a lot of different types of math, aren't there? There's quantum math. Okay, I get it now. I get it now.
There is
No,
all
no,
this thing
no.
that I'm teaching.
No, I just
All these
realized.
different types.
Yeah, but I get it now. I get it now because you're right. There's quantum math. I get it. I totally get it. that makes sense. It's the theories of maths. Okay, I get it. But so to me that was really intimidating because I always feel like God, I sucked at math. Um, I'm not, which surprisingly though, like I think I told you this, even though I sucked at math, I scored higher on my SATs. Um, and I scored really, really high on my SATs, which was crazy because I applied to a lot of colleges, like just based off my high school transcript, rejected, right? C student. Like I applied to high colleges. Like I sent my stuff to, I had no shame. I'm like, I'm sending it to Juilliard. My dad's like, do you want to play anything? I'm like, nope, but I'm going to send it to them anyways. And they're like, thanks for your interest. No. Um, but I got a lot of rejection letters. And then when they got my SATs, then everybody sent it back because I got really, 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 really high scores on my SAT. I even got that year the Presidential Academic Fitness Award.
Wait, just let me say that again. Academic
Fitness Award.
What? Academic Fitness Award?
Yeah, Academic Fitness Award.
No, I thought you meant it was like a physical education thing, like a fitness thing. It's like, oh, well, you tried and you're healthy, so we'll give you this award. It's not academic, but we'll call it academic. I thought that's like fitness. Does that still exist?
I don't know. I got
sure
it under the first George Bush. No. Why doesn't that make sense? You're a smart person. Academic fitness. It's like how like when you take like a heart fitness, it's not like your heart is on a treadmill. I mean, your body goes on the treadmill to measure your heart. So this is measuring the fitness of your academics. Like how good is it? It's measuring the state. So on the SAT, you have an English section, you have a mathematics section.
And I don't understand
back
why
in my day, it was like
fitness.
800. I don't know. I think because they're trying to have an overall. I don't know. I have no idea.
Are you sure your dad didn't make it for you?
No. You know what? This is a really cool thing.
Is it handwritten?
In my yearbook. No. This was a really cool thing in my yearbook. And in the last school paper, like, so for the final year of high school, like a lot of people, and we lived in an upper middle class neighborhood, right? So a lot of the parents could afford to buy ad space in the yearbook to kind of dedicate like to their child, like, oh, this is your school. It was actually really nice and really sweet, but everyone had my child got accepted to Stanford, my child got accepted to this, and my child got accepted to that, and my dad got this tiny little quarter of like a little box, and he just wrote like, I'm so proud of my daughter, please, except for the ages of 14, 15, 11, 17. He's like, you were an absolute pleasure to raise. And then he said, I'm so proud of you for getting into ABC School of Trucking. And like, he did this whole thing and loved, we're so proud of you, reach for the stars. And people were like, you're going to trucking school? And I was like, yeah.
Well, you're definitely academically fit enough to go to.
Right? I mean, I tested well, and it turns out that my son is the exact same way, because just before he just did all this testing, I just got all these things of like, he's not turning in homework. He's not doing this. And then when he tested just recently, he just got another test and he got an A+ on an AP bio. And so I sat and I asked him, and then I answered my own question. I'm like, I don't understand how you're getting 100 on here, but you're not turning on the homework. And then I thought, never mind. Like, I got it. Because I was the same way. Like I think that I was bored by like homework. It seemed to me that it was like a boring task that I didn't feel that the teacher actually valued or that much anyways.
Yeah. It was just going through the motions of saying that you were doing more homework. It wasn't enriching the learning. It wasn't different from anything at school. It was just repetition.
Yeah. And luckily he went to a primary school where there was an option, and I opted out. I said, I don't want him doing homework in primary. I said, I don't think that there's any beneficial reason for him to do homework.
And do you think that's affected his attitude to homework in secondary?
I didn't think about that. It's all my fault, isn't it? No, but I didn't tell him that. Like I didn't
Yeah,
make a
but
big deal. Like I was the one that made the big deal saying I don't think that there's any benefit. Like it was the same way with a lot of people in my family. Like my cousin has a school. He has an early years education school that's as big as the school that my son went to. Everybody in my family is into education. A lot of them are professors at different universities and such. Um, and when Angus turned 2 and I did not put him into school, they were all on my case. Oh, you're doing him a disservice. Like he should be in school. He should be this. I'm like, I have the time to be with him and give him 100% of my time. I can take him to the museum and explain to him in my nerdy ways things that maybe other people, because you've got 30 kids or something, you can't give that one-on-one devotion to be like, oh, this bone, let's dive into this bone. So I thought if I have the time to give him, I'd rather give him that. I'd rather give him that time. And so like I didn't start him to school till he was 5. I didn't start to school till I was 5. And as soon as he started school, I remember I was within a couple of months, um, I was contacted and told that, your son might have dyslexia. And I was like, okay, but why do you think that? Like, he has a hard time with words. I'm like, I didn't teach him to read. He's like, he's 5. I'm like, yeah, I didn't teach him to read. Like, I just didn't. Like, I was teaching him other things. I was like showing him the world, like showing him other stuff. I didn't teach him to read. So he's not dyslexic. And so he couldn't read anything at 5. And by the next year, he caught up.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, so it's funny because there's a whole bunch of people on one side of the fence saying you got to start early. You got to start early. They'll test better. They'll do this. They'll that better. He's in 3 AP classes right now, and he, I mean, I think that's. Oh, he just got his new AP class. He's going to have as like a speech and debate, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. So he I think that that's cool.
yeah. He's good at trying to talk his way out of trouble, so he'll be, yeah, experienced.
But he doesn't really get into too much trouble. He's actually not troublesome at all. He's absent-minded and he's terrible at time.
And
He
he's
has horrible time management.
easily influenced, and he has a habit of being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Oh, that you're speaking as from a teacher's
Yeah.
standpoint. But do you
What's the saying?
teachers?
He's in the choir, but he's not the. I can't remember the saying. But he's one of the members of the choir. He's not the
Yeah,
conductor.
you know what?
I don't
He
know
used
this
to
thing.
always say that him and his best friend like would always get secondary in trouble for just
Yeah,
being there, where they would like
trouble by
everybody else got in trouble
association.
and then
Yeah,
they're like, why are you here? Why are you
yeah,
here? Okay, come talk to us. Why are you even standing here? Because sometimes they're filming or something. It's crazy high school nowadays, I think, because there's so much more. I think that do you think that kids act out more because things can be filmed, or do you think that plays a part of it?
I think during lessons they act out less because things can be filmed. No, the phone was my biggest weapon.
Yeah.
As you saw with calling grandma that worked on numerous students. Or just getting it out and turning the camera on.
Yeah.
Immediately back to work.
I have I want to hear your thoughts as an educator on this.
Thank you. I've never been called that before.
Because we recently had that earthquake here, and there were, some schools that allow children to have phones, but the phones must be kept away. You had a great policy in your room where you had the thing, right?
Yeah.
Was it the shoe thing from IKEA where you had to put your
shoe hanger? Yeah.
Shoe hanger thing where the kids and I think that's a really great idea. Some schools absolutely not. And so during the earthquake, there were some kids that could not call their parents and were not given access to go get their parents. Um, so that's I think that all schools probably afterwards are having that discussion. I'm sure that all the schools go meet, and no matter where, after there's a major kind of disaster, I think any place, you're going to have that discussion of, do you allow it nowadays? There is this technology where a lot of kids do have a phone, and before you say it's distracting, but we are in a different world sometimes now where we might need to get a hold of our children immediately. Um, what are your thoughts on it? I think it's a simple thing. What you did, end of story.
Yeah, I think kids need to be educated or trained how to and when to use their devices, because they can be distracting, not just for students but for anyone that has one. So it's a case of teaching kids to prioritize their tasks.
When I had the library, I had signs all over the library because parents would come in, and I was like, absolutely no phones. And the reason why is because I said, I would explain it saying, we're trying to model. If you want to talk on a phone, go outside. But my interpretation of how to best train kids is be a model. So like I never had my phone on me. They never could find my phone on me, Um, and it's just to set that example, because when you go out in public and a lot now, I mean, I don't know how many times I go out to dinner and I see like a bunch of people and they're all at dinner. There's 4 people at dinner, but everybody's on their phone.
Yeah.
Right.
I had that discussion with Mafia last time we went out for steak. We'd just be looking around, and there was a family, the dad and mum and 2 kids, all 4 of them on phones. And then they filmed when the meal arrived. And my brother and I just looked at each other saying, what's the point of that? No, they're not present in the moment.
And mom's my mom always makes me take pictures of food, and
hate
then
that.
I give it to her, and I don't know what.
Peeve.
Yeah, it's a pet peeve of mine. And I remember I went through a
put
period
this
one
with
time.
the thousands of other pictures of food that'll never be looked at again.
I went through a period, my rebellion, of taking pictures of my finished empty plate, and posting it, because this was like a decade ago when it was fashionable. People were posting their food. And it would be okay if they were like really, I mean, I could understand the aesthetics of food, and food looks great, right? But sometimes it was just like click. There was no aesthetic to it. It's like, you're not a good photographer. And so that was my rebellion. I'm just going to take a picture of my empty plate.
Yeah. I think a lot of it's propaganda as well, which I don't like. It's not real. It's portraying yourself as you want to be seen. It's all about perception.
Oh, do you think
which I dislike. So I don't think you can really know someone from their online profiles.
No, I think that they're mostly curated.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, and it's funny because I've had conversations with people on this, where they've said that they have felt depressed looking at other people's lives and seeing their lives and stuff like that. And it's like, that's not real. Like, I mean, I know a lot of people and I see their IG life and I'm like, I happen to know that's not your life at all. I happen to know that you guys hate each other. You're fighting every day. And yet you're, like portraying this thing. I don't get it. But even, and this is the thing I don't understand too, like this, and I've made comments lately because for whatever reason, because I'm doing this podcast, there was I use Riverside. I love Riverside. I'm not going to switch from Riverside, but there was like these other podcasting advertisements coming up saying, do you want to switch and do this podcast? And we have all this, the video editing, like, so you can put filters, which Riverside doesn't have any filters for us. It's just like, it's got audio enhancers, echo cancellation, but it's just like, that's great for me. Cause I think that if you start digitally altering people, it looks weird, right? But I put a comment on one of these things and I was like, number one, and it was like, oh, you can look so much better. I'm like, number one. And it also, it did, you could just do pictures of yourself. It was like, why are you training a generation of people to make them not, to make them feel that how they are is not good enough?
Yeah. Yeah.
That you must enhance, everything.
It just becomes inauthentic. No, it's not, it's just not real. It's
right.
Yeah.
Do you think that we could ever go back? Because it's, I saw something, um, my child sent me something the other day because he said, did you know this? And he sent me, and it was, I'm on the fence of whether somebody did it to be mean, if somebody did it to be factual, right? Like, I'm not sure what, I didn't look into it too much, but I just looked at it and was like, well, I don't know because I didn't watch that, right? But he sent me this meme on, I don't want to really call them out, on a very popular reality TV family, with a bunch of women in the family.
Okay.
Right. So
that narrows
I've never
it down,
watched it.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think I can
You
guess.
probably don't. Yeah. Okay. So you probably don't. Like, I don't watch TV, but I don't know how, but over the course of my life, I've been able to stay, that hasn't entered my life. Like, I don't get stuff for it. I don't get that algorithm has not come to me, which is why I don't even want to really bring the name up too much. It's like, I don't want to fuck up my own algorithm now. But the point
Hang on,
is,
just let me make a note to send you something.
oh, no, don't you dare. Evil man. But he sent me this thing, and like I said, I don't know if somebody did it to be mean or did it to be factual, but it had each of the women. It looked like an ad for the show, but they were all standing there looking glamorous. And then within seconds, it faded and its different face showed up. And it was their faces prior to different enhancements, right? And I'd never seen that. And I never paid attention. And I was like, because I didn't know what I was looking at first. And I was like, I don't understand. And he's like, no, this is what, they used to look like. And I'm like, oh, that's mean, right? Like, my first thought was like, oh, that's mean, right? But at the same time, I was like thinking about it later and just thinking about, because we teach kids, I've heard young girls come up and cry about social media saying, I could never be, I'm not going to be, I'm not pretty like this person. And I'm like, number one, you're 11. Why are you on social media? Like, why has your parents not blocked your phone? Right. But, it's sad to see. And I remember sitting there saying to her, I'm like, they don't look like that. I'm like, they don't look like that. I said, you don't have to worry about that. And I said, you should only actually worry. Like, if somebody doesn't like you for you and how you are in person, like, it doesn't really matter, like, how you are, right, out in there. But that's the mindset of so many today. And it seems like completely acceptable because you see people liking stuff that doesn't even look real, right?
Yeah.
But I don't understand. Like, I really don't understand. Like, so many people were liking that ad that was coming to me about the podcast. And I'm like, but you're basically telling people that they don't look all right. Like, we need to enhance you because you don't look good enough.
Yeah. That's an interesting point.
It's very strange. It's just very strange to me. So, I mean, I don't get it. Like, I don't know why it's like normalized. And also, as a man or a woman, I guess it doesn't matter, right? As a man or a woman, like the whole catfishing thing. Do you know what catfishing is?
Yeah.
So I've learned what catfishing is in the last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's whatever.
Yeah. I think times have changed though. Like, when I'm sure you see the same posts that I do of like the cast of Cheers, and they're like in their late 20s, early 30s, but they look a lot older. No.
Yeah.
We just, times have changed. Or when you look at Ralph Macchio and Mr. Miyagi side by side at the same age.
Yeah.
It's night and day.
Yeah. There was something the other day, and they said it was like Robert De Niro, age 34 or something, and I looked at him and I'm like, he looks 50 there.
Yeah.
Like I'm older him now than he was in that picture, but he looks old.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that it's funny because when you go back and look at a a person 50 years ago, they seemed like 50, like a person. If you look back at pictures of people in when I said 50 years ago, I was literally thinking like 1950s.
Yeah, like Happy Days. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay, but when you're okay, so when you're thinking, geez, it's like 80 years ago.
Yeah.
Holy shit, right?
Yeah.
God. Okay, so 80 years ago, God, Happy Days 80 years ago kind of feeling. Okay, but when you looked at older people, parents and stuff, then they looked responsible. Like you look at parents our age now, they don't look
Yeah.
responsible.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they are, but they're still like in t-shirts and it's a much different aesthetic. It's very, you see more with tattoos and stuff, and that's like totally normal. But I remember when I was a kid, it was just like sailors got tattoos.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was, and
Yeah.
and usually
prisoners.
sometimes
Yeah.
and yeah, and the sailors' tattoos could like the Hawaiian girl could hula, like she hula. That was usually like the thing,
Yeah.
which I thought was really cool. Like if I ever got a tattoo, and I never would, that's probably what I would get, a Hawaiian hula girl, just because that's burned into my memory, Hawaiian hula girls. I used to have a Hawaiian hula girl like bobble on my car, and I took a turn too fast one day and then
She
got
capsized.
destroyed. She capsized and hit something. There was a while that I was collecting little at Daiso. I get carried away in Daiso because everything's like 60 baht. 60 baht equates to about like almost around $2.
$2. Yeah.
And so there's just ridiculous things. Like there's things I don't need, but I buy because it's like $2. And I'm like, oh. So there was a while that I had this huge collection of these little heat sensing bubbles. So like you put them on your car dash and then they would just dance. Like they were heat sensors, so they would dance. And so like I just had this whole row of things that I thought that was so. See, a 50-year-old parent in the 1950s would not do that.
True.
Right? So somebody in their 40s back in the 50s would not be putting batteries into their Boba Fett helmet.
No, of course not. It's
So
ridiculous. I have another mask, but I'm going to save it for next time. I think you'll enjoy it.
Is it Star Wars related? Really? Is it the Jim Carrey mask from The Mask?
No, more clues.
Now you know that that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to be sending you for the rest of the day, like my guess.
You will, I think you will find it amusing, but not laugh. You'll be in shock, and then you'll realize it'll take.
Is it a Rocky Balboa mask?
No, it's no more clues.
Is it Apollo Creed?
No more clues.
I never finished telling. We never finished telling this story of us meeting because our friendship started out in a very. I think that the first thing that I said to you. Do you remember the first thing that I said to you when I met you? Wait, first of all, I have to say that the first time I met you, I did not know that you were in I did not know that you were in costume the first time I met you until a year, well over a year. Like yes, I just assumed that was like your normal getup. It was like well over a year. But the first time I saw you, you were rocking all pastels.
Yeah, it was Barbie themed. Yeah.
I did not know it was because it was a Barbie themed party. Like I just thought he likes like he's into Miami Vice.
Well, to be fair.
So, but do you remember the very first thing that I said to you?
I think we might disagree about this.
Okay.
I think the first thing you said was, you told me there would be cheese.
Oh, yeah, I think that is the first thing that I said to you.
But yes, I remember the second thing as well. Because
you did. You tricked me into going. Like, I don't like to go to parent.
It wasn't a trick.
I don't like to go to parent.
Plenty of cheese.
This was a parent teacher thing. I'm I explained to you, I don't know why I explained to you because I did not know you at all. But, it was like I'm a very blunt person and sometimes no filter, so you just caught me at a moment where you're like, "Oh, there's
sometimes.
this thing this thing to go to," and I was like, "No, I'm not good with people at all." Like, I couldn't like, it's a parent-teacher thing. I can't, no, a parents' night thing, I'm not good. I don't mingle with other parents, and then I told my son I wasn't gonna go, and he came to me and he said at the time, he said, "Mom, you never let me spend the night at anybody's house because you said that you don't know anybody." And he and and this is a true story. I sometimes, sometimes you're a single mom, you don't know, like, what, what's right. Like, am I being too harsh? Am I not being too harsh? So a lot of times, um, in the past, is the tiebreaker of things. Like, he is the tiebreaker. So I remember sending something to him saying, "Would you let your son go spend the night at somebody's house when you've never met the parents, you've never met the kids, you don't know where they look like, you've never met anybody. Like, would you let him go?" Because I was like telling Angus at the time, I'm like, "No, I'm not letting you go. I don't know them." And so it was like, no, I would not let him go. So he came back to me at this point and he says, "If you don't go to this thing, you should go to the thing, Mom, because if you don't meet the parents, you'll never let me spend the night." And I was like, "Oh God, he's got me like on logic." I'm like, "Damn him." And I still didn't want to go. And I think that that's when he used you
Yeah.
to
Well,
try to convince me to
he
go.
said, yeah, he did that by the very simple tactic of saying, "There's no way you'll persuade my mum to come," which was like a red rag to a bull. It's like, of course I can make her come to this evening.
And how did you know that the way in would be cheese?
Uh, when I mentioned cheese, his eyes lit up.
My God, I love cheese so much. I love cheese.
And there
I
was
asked
cheese.
that there
It was
was, I
just
couldn't
being
find it at the time.
restocked. A huge bucket of cheese appeared within seconds.
The second thing I said to you, you asked me, how was I? And then do you remember the second thing I said to you?
Yeah, you said you were a little bit anxious that you might have baby squids breeding under your skin.
No, it was the opposite. I was elated because I said, "I'm so happy because I think that I've now gone over the threshold and I'm in the safe zone of I'm out of the scary zone of whether or not baby squids have birthed under my skin."
Okay. I think I permanently live in that zone. I'm quite sure there's no.
And I liked that there was no reaction.
Well,
And maybe
having
that
taught your
says a lot
son.
about you. Maybe that says a lot about you. There was like no reaction. It wasn't like, "Oh, what do you want about?" And it's just, and you asked me, "How do you know that you like you were very interested, like how did you know that?" And I said that because it would seem logical at this point. And this was the first conversation we got into. I said, "I read there was a news article here of a woman. She went to go eat squid, right? And live squid or something. And she bit into the squid, and the squid, I don't know, had like eggs or something happened where baby squids had birthed underneath her gums. Like, how horrifying, like, horrifying is that, right?" And I thought they could just get into your blood and to your stream and your system. And I'd gone to, and this is quite funny. Like, me and my son and my mom, we went to the beach like overnight. We stayed overnight, and I did not realize that the following day was the start of school. Like, I was just like, "Oh, I'm just going on vacation." And somebody says, "See you tomorrow." I'm like, "Why would you see me tomorrow?" They're like, Start of inset." And I'm like, "Inset's tomorrow." And so race back to the school, meet like all, we're at an international school. So every year, like there's a new staff come in. I, and I was starting to feel itchy. Like, so we came back from the beach and I was getting stung that day by sea nettles, like a lot of sea nettles, which are they're just these little creatures in the sea. I mean, I think everybody kind of feels them. Like they just feel like you're getting bit by something, right? And I felt a lot that day. And then I just got it in my head. What if I had like little cuts in my legs from something? And then I checked and I had like a little cut from coral or something. And I thought, what if they got into my bloodstream? And so then I was utterly convinced that baby squids were in my bloodstream. So the next day I'm at Inset. I'm meeting people for the first time. People that are thankfully after all these years still my friends. Because, hi, nice to meet you. How are you doing? I said, I think that I might have baby squids growing under my skin. Like first thing.
Quite the
Because
icebreaker.
it was like I was so scared of this. And I remember my friend Pam, she was like, and she was from London, and I just could see her face still like trying to discern whether I was a crazy person or if I was dead serious. And she could see that I was dead serious. And again,
Well,
and maybe that says something,
you
you
could
know?
be both.
What's your favorite Nintendo game?
Super Mario Kart.
Do you have it at home?
I do somewhere. Yeah. This is from New York. Mafia brought it back for me. I have two. I have a red one, which
I think I've seen the red one.
Yeah, that's a Nintendo one. I'm not sure it's. Yeah, I think that's from New York as well.
So it would be the same shirt in red.
But the strange thing is, the red one fits perfectly, whereas this one's a little bit snug. No, Yai wouldn't like me wearing this one.
It doesn't look snug. I found a U2 shirt.
Really?
But U2 Joshua Tree era, which War or Joshua Tree era, totally down, like solid era. And I got it for $1.
Wow.
Not even $1. I got it for 10 baht. It was like buy 2 shirts for 20 baht. I got 2 for I literally just bought about like 30 t-shirts the other day because it was like 2 for 20 baht. But yeah, really great shirts. I even got one that says Dolly for president. It's from Dollywood.
I've been there.
Have you?
Yeah. In
really?
Nashville, right? I think.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
I
went to the Country Music Hall of Fame as well.
Oh, that's really cool. Did you go with Mafia or was this with your other friend?
My other friend, years and years ago.
On your cross country trip?
Yeah.
How long did it take you to cross country?
Oh, we spent about 4 months in total, but that included Canada.
Oh, wow. And did you rent a car the whole time?
No, we bought and sold a Jeep, a secondhand Jeep.
Wow, that's actually pretty cool. I just got a Jeep shirt. It's like a Jeep rally shirt.
Yeah. And the Jeep that broke down in Nashville. That's why we had to stay there for a few days longer than expected.
Did you go to Graceland?
Yep.
Oh, nice.
Beale Street, the Peabody Hotel, where the Ducks, the Ducks do the parade. Have you seen that?
No.
The famous Peabody Hotel in Memphis. They have ducks there that do they walk down the stairs and they go into a fountain in the lobby at a specific time every day.
Like ducks. Like quack ducks. Like I mean, that's what we're talking about, right?
As opposed to
I don't know if it was like a metaphor for something.
No, like quack ducks.
Where do they come from?
Upstairs. They're residents at the hotel.
There's ducks that are living in it. Like, why aren't the ducks outside?
I don't know. Maybe they were given a choice and they decided to stay in the hotel. I think I would.
I had a pet duck for a week, but I'll tell that story some other time.
No, it sounds sad already.
No. We didn't eat it. Or no, like he was a rescue duck. He was blue. Somebody died in blue.
What do you mean a rescue duck? As opposed to from a breeder.
No, I think it was a rescue duck. So like I'll try to make this story very short. So my dad used to run like the Navy clubs and stuff. And whenever a different squadron came in, sometimes they had a formal feast, like whatever banquet, right? And when they came in, a lot of different, like if you were the aardvarks, if that was your squadron, I think it was like 215, squadron 215, aardvarks, whatever, like he'd bring out something that looked that we'd have the parade of the beef. Okay. And
This is
so yeah, so there was a blue goose squadron, and for the parade of the beef, he was going to have a goose, but he couldn't find a goose, so they got a duck, and they're not going to sacrifice the animal. It's just kind of a campy show. Everybody's in tuxedos and stuff, and so they paraded this duck. They dyed him blue, and it was supposed to represent a blue goose. And then afterwards, I cried, and I said, "Why is the duck blue?" And my dad told me this story. And then I said, "Now what are you going to do with the duck?" And he said, "I don't know." And I said, "We need to take the duck home." So we took the duck home. And it was like maybe a week or something before my mom's like, "Get the duck out of here."
that's quite patient for her. So did they also the parade of the just go back? So they had a parade of every squadron. So there was a beef squadron. There was an ard.
No. So like a lot of times, and I it's like a military type custom. Like, and sometimes it's that way if you go to Harvard or something, when you have a formal dinner, and there's all these. It's a certain course. There's all these different things, but they always have this part where it's called the parade of the meat, so that some waiters come on. It's like a stretcher, but it's not a stretcher, it's like a thing. And everybody's supposed to see the meat that you're going to eat.
Like a death parade.
But because
okay.
yeah, we were living in the Philippines, and so Dad always thought it would be funny living in the Philippines that the meat, the parade of the meat, was always some weird creature from the Philippines. So sometimes it would be a bat. He'd like get the Negrito, which were the indigenous people that he hired for security, because the club used to get broken into all the time. But once they hired the indigenous people, like never break in again, because like everybody was, because they were like mystical, and they were like pygmy. They were like a pygmy tribe, but they were like very mystical.
From Indiana Jones, like with blow darts and things. Yeah.
Well, when Dad hired them, like they asked Dad, "What do you want us to do if we catch a thief? Kill him?" Dad's like, "No, no, just hold him," while we called OPM, which was like the Office of the Provost Marshal, which was like the cops, military police. But yeah, so they would get a bat. One time they got a python. His name was Monty. Obviously, he was an 18-foot python, and they brought him out with. I'll try to find pictures. And they brought him out. Sometimes it was a wild boar, because these were all animals you can find literally on the premises of the club. Like, because we were in the middle of a jungle. Like, it's the most, like, I've talked to people about this so many times. I'm like, it was the most incredible childhood living in the middle of a jungle, honestly. Like, even though we were on a base, we were literally still in the middle of a jungle. So it's like across the street, and I've showed you the picture. Like, when I was growing up, I didn't realize how in the middle of a jungle I was until I grew up, and there's Google Earth, and I'm like, holy, like I would probably have been afraid if I knew then how much our house in particular was in the middle of a jungle. Like that, it's quite scary, like super, super scary, but honestly, the best childhood. So, oh, and later I want to talk to you about bathing in volcano water.